So tonight, Donald Trump won Mississippi. That was not a big surprise. He won Michigan. There was some chance that Kasich was going to catch him from behind there, and if there was any kind of damage that had been done to Donald Trump in a significant way because of all the stories about his racism, all the stories about his penis, then it would have showed up. The thinking is it would have showed up in Michigan. But as you see there, Kasich got 25%, Cruz got 24%, Trump got 37%. So it's still a comfortable enough win. It was called relatively early on. So Idaho and Hawaii are still outstanding, but they're small states. So it's still a big win for Donald Trump. He holds on to his lead in both in delegates and in momentum. And he's got March 15th coming up with those giant states. And if Kasich or Cruz...
The guy who was going to beat him in Florida is weakened.
Yeah, let's get to Rubio in a second. If Cruz had beaten him in Mississippi or Kasich had beaten him in Michigan, then we'd have a real conversation of, oh my God, the tide has turned. Well, with these results, you can't really have that conversation. It appears so far the tide has not turned.
I'll make the counter argument because I'll make the argument that the people dedicated to defeating Trump will continue to make, which is that in Michigan, yes, he won. But, I mean, Cruz and Kasich split that vote at 24%. And now John's argument is that he made earlier is being proven correct. Like, if you take two people and put them together, all those votes might well go to those people, basically all of them, right? Mm-hmm. We're starting to see that in head-to-head races, Trump loses to everybody. Mm-hmm. So
on the Republican
side. So he getting just 37% of the vote in Michigan is not a sign of a huge, confident frontrunner. And now, whereas before there was the competing strategies, a strategy that had let's keep everybody in these proportional states so that Trump can't get to the whatever the number is, 1,237. Now that argument's going to start to shift to can we make it a one-on-one race? That's how we're going to beat him. Because 37, and even he's below 50 in Mississippi. Again, Mississippi 48-36 over Cruz. The other guy's fairly insignificant, a higher total in Mississippi. But Mississippi, again, a less significant, it's not a battleground state. What happened in Michigan is more interesting. And Cruz is going to beat him in Idaho. And we think that there's we don't know what's going to happen. I thought that didn't you say
Rubio might win in Hawaii.
Might win in Hawaii, but
right.
We don't know.
But the biggest loser of the night is indisputable. It's Marco Rubio.
Yeah. And
so he's getting crushed everywhere. In fact, if I'm one of those Republican donors and I cannot have Donald Trump winning, I would go to Rubio right now and say, hey, big guy, I know you had big plans and we put a lot of money into you, but I got to cut my losses right now because I cannot have you in that race taking up votes from John Kasich with Ohio coming up.
Or Cruz. Okay. I mean, it's not unclear where those...
because here's what I would do. If I was the donor class and I didn't want Trump winning, my second least favorite is Cruz, but maybe I could stomach him, but I really don't want Cruz either, and that's where they are.
That's right. That's right.
I would say, Rubio, get the hell out right now. Let's give Kasich one more chance. Let's see if on March 15th he could win Ohio and make a really solid showing, maybe even win Illinois, right? And solid showing in Florida and some other places. Then maybe Kasich stays in as our mainstream candidate. If he can't, he's got to get out immediately. We got to settle on Cruz, and Cruz has got to take on Trump in all these states and hope to win the rest.
I think if your sole goal is to beat Donald Trump, Kasich strikes me as too marginalized. That you have to bite this bullet and settle on Ted Cruz.
Well, then but Kasich's not going to drop out before Ohio.
No, he's not.
No way, because he might win Ohio, and that's a good case to make. Whereas Marco Rubio could, because he's gotten slaughtered everywhere. And he's losing by 20 points in his home state of Florida. Do you really want to go all the way to the end, and then the end being your home state, and have Trump spank you there, make fun of you, humiliate you, and then you exit?